My name is Leah Lizarondo, and I am the CEO and co founder of 412 Food Rescue and the founder of the technology platform Food Rescue Hero.
Wow, Leia. So, how is the work that you and 412 Food Rescue a climate solution? How is it helping the world reach drawdown?
Right. So, from us all who have read Drawdown, we know that reducing food waste is one of the top interventions that we can do to mitigate climate change. And there's many different aspects of food waste, as we all know. And the specific thing that we do is we prevent perfectly good food from going to landfills and going to instead people who are experiencing food insecurity.
Something I think a lot of people wonder is like, what does it actually look like to reduce food waste? What's the work that you and 412 Food Rescue do from like a step-by-step perspective?
Right. So food waste happens at every stage of the supply chain, from farms, and there are nonprofits and organizations that tackle that segment of the supply chains down to our homes. And it's all about changing our practices, right? So when we buy a lemon, let's make sure to use it before it
Mhm.
fuzzes up. The stage of the supply chain that we focus on is what's called consumer facing businesses. That is any source of food before it gets to us. So, restaurants, grocery stores, institutions like universities and hospitals, workplaces. And what makes it difficult to recover this food is that it's unpredictable, it's relatively small in quantity for trucks. And it can happen at any time. So, you need a different logistics network. And 412 Food Rescue and the Food Rescue Hero platform is that logistics network.
I actually have the 412 Food Rescue app on or the Food Rescue Hero app on my phone. And I love that it just gave me push notifications for different locations where I could potentially pick up food. Like there was a grocery store that was only about 5 minutes from where I was staying. I think it's so amazing that this exists. But if I'm someone who's volunteering with 412 Food Rescue, whether that's on a weekly basis or one time, like what is that experience like? And how would I be actually helping to address this climate problem and be part of the solution?
Right. So we function exactly like the way food delivery services function, except the view that you have is the driver for the delivery service, right? So it's not us consumers where we're ordering food and then we just get food delivered to us. Once we order food, the driver gets that alert. An order from this restaurant is going to Matt. And so he'll say, "Oh, that's close to me, and I can route that and I'll take that." It's the same process with us. Pinterest, who is one of the folks that you're going to talk to, donates to our partner in San Francisco that uses the Food Rescue Hero platform. And so a volunteer or food rescue hero will go to Pinterest at the end of their lunch period, take all of the surplus good lunch and collect it and then deliver it to a nonprofit that serves households that are food insecure. And most of those trips in the 13 cities that Food Rescue Hero platform functions in happens in about 20 minutes to 1 hour. And so thousands and thousands of these trips have happened in the last few years. And all of these drivers have completed over 250,000 rescues at 65 million pounds of food recovered.
We know that food waste is one of the largest contributors to emissions because so much food goes produced and then not used. What was the world like before organizations like 412 Food Rescue and interventions like the one that you've mentioned?
So, what's great is that there are so many food rescue organizations all over the world, really, and all in different ways of operating. I know that Regina Anderson from Food Recovery Network is going to speak. Food Recovery Network mobilizes students to work within the university to move food around so that how many pizzas are there or trays of lasagna that needs to be eaten.
Exactly.
And so different food rescue organizations have found it difficult to scale because there is absolutely no way to mobilize tens of thousands and eventually hundreds of thousands of drivers without technology. So when we say, the platform has facilitated over 250,000 trips, that can't be facilitated efficiently through SMS. And all of the data is lost in that way as well. So this is a true platform in the same way that all of our delivery services have platforms, but this one focused specifically on food waste and allows organizations to scale.
And you mentioned something very important, that there are so many different approaches. There are different organizations that come to mind. Another one that comes to mind for me is Copia. Really, we need like this all hands on deck effort to address not only food waste but climate challenges. Um,
Yes.
like in a way, I wonder, what do you see as the next frontier of your work? Is it just a matter of scaling the operations that you're doing, or is there anything else that you're kind of working toward and building toward at this point?
Yeah. So what we are after really is, so when you mentioned Copia, there is technology, but truly it still uses the trucking model, and that is sufficient for really larger quantities of food. And what we have is a highly responsive network that can pick up 2 bags of bagels, right, down to a whole carload of surplus groceries. But I think at the core of it all, one of the things I'm passionate about the work we do is that when people think about climate change, because it's so dire, code red for humanity, for instance, all of us have this tendency to either, it's a fight or flight. And the flight is just go into a state of despair and say, there is nothing, absolutely nothing I can do. But this platform, because it depends on mobilizing hundreds of thousands of drivers eventually, is a way for us to give people a chance to actually feel like they're doing something, and they are doing something. So it's an easy, barrierless way for us to take action on climate change and make a difference also in one of the other big challenges we face, which is food insecurity.
One thing I think that's so powerful about even what you're saying about the solution, and even about the problem, is that it's so relatable for all of us. And that's one reason that I think it's just important that we're talking about solutions on World Food Day, because food is literally one of the things that links all of us as humanity. Is there anything that you wish that your everyday person knew about food waste and reducing food waste that they're not already thinking about?
Yeah. So a couple of things come to mind. So one of the biggest turning points in my life was when I learned how to farm, when I learned how to grow food. At that
Mhm.
point, I truly understood all of the resources, all of the time, all of the labor and the hard work that grows into growing even one green bean. And at that
Yeah.
point, the way I value food has completely changed, and has affected this commitment to reducing food waste. And in terms of food waste in general, there's a lot of things that we can do at home, different practices. The NRDC has a lot of resources on that. There's a lot of education in that from many other food rescue organizations, and there is nothing as visceral as seeing your car full of food to the brim from a grocery
Mhm.
store, and understanding that without you, this raspberries, these bananas, this bread will have gone to landfill and not go to serving someone.
Whether it's with like food waste or otherwise, do you have any advice for people who want to work on climate solutions, like for how they could get started?
My biggest advice is, again, in this point of us reading about climate change and having a choice and a crossroads between despair and not doing anything because it's too much, or doing something small or taking a small step and feeling like it's not enough. I would advise everyone to just take that small step, because that first small step is your small step personally, but then cumulatively, just like when we rescue food, one person may rescue 10 pounds of food. But then when we see thousands of people taking trips, we're suddenly at 65 million pounds of food in only 4 years. And that's enough meals to feed everyone in America, give them one meal. So it's the cumulative effect of it is significant. And for you personally, the person you helped that day, or that small step you took, is significant in terms of you feeling like you have the power to do something.
Thank you so much, Leah, for your perspective and for your insight. If there's one thing that sticks with me walking out of our conversation, it's just this reality that each of us has the power to contribute to reducing food waste. Food waste is something that's in front of each and every person each day, or there's the potential for food waste each and every day. So, how can we make more responsible decisions to consume less or consume the right amount to ensure that the food that would go wasted is going to others who are hungry, in need, who could use that food instead of that food, those emissions going to waste? Well, food waste is something that's right in front of us, and reducing food waste as a climate solution is also right in front of us. There are other solutions that aren't quite as visible. One of them being improves clean cook stoves, which many of us, especially in the Western world, might not experience in our day-to-day lives, if at all. Next, I'm talking with Alexandra Garcia, who is working to address clean cooking and clean cook stoves and ensure that more people have access to them, not only to improve health and the production of food and that process, but also to support livelihoods and the ways that people interact and engage with their food when they don't have to be concerned about the unhealthy effects of preparing it.